Imagine a city bustling with life, a vibrant hub of Roman commerce and culture. Then, in an instant, plunged into an apocalyptic nightmare. On what was thought to be August 24th, 79 AD, though recent evidence suggests it may have been later in the autumn. Mount Vesuvius, the silent giant looming over the Bay of Naples, awoke with unimaginable fury. This isn't just a story from the distant past. It's a chilling, minute-by-minute account of a city's last moments against an unstoppable force of nature. Today, we journey back in time to witness the terrifying end of Pompeii. Before the cataclysm, Pompeii was the picture of Roman prosperity. Its streets, paved with large stone blocks, were alive with the sounds of merchants haggling in the bustling forum, children playing, and the clatter of chariot wheels. Elegant villas, adorned with stunning frescoes and intricate mosaics, housed the city's wealthy elite. Fountains provided fresh water, bakeries produced warm bread, and taverns served wine to locals and travelers alike. Life was good. People went about their daily routines, completely unaware that they were living in the shadow of a ticking time bomb. There had been tremors, sure, but earthquakes were common in the region. No one connected them to the serene mountain that had been dormant for centuries. They had no idea they were standing on the edge of oblivion. The morning of the eruption likely began like any other. The sun rose over a peaceful city, but around midday, the first sign of doom appeared. A deafening explosion, louder than any thunder they had ever heard, ripped through the air. A colossal column of ash, pumice, and gas shot miles into the sky, blotting out the sun and casting a terrifying darkness over the city. Pliny the Younger, who witnessed the event from a safe distance across the bay, described it as a giant pine tree, spreading its branches across the heavens. For the people of Pompeii, confusion turned to panic. What was happening? The gods must be angry. This was a nightmare from which they couldn't wake up. As the initial shock wore off, the first phase of the eruption began its deadly assault. A rain of small, lightweight pumice stones called lapilli started to fall. At first, it was like a strange, gray hailstorm, but it didn't stop. The stones grew larger, and the sheer volume of material falling from the sky was relentless. It piled up at an astonishing rate, several inches every hour. Roofs began to groan under the immense weight, and soon they started to collapse, trapping and crushing those who had sought shelter inside their homes. The air became thick with choking ash, making it difficult to see and even harder to breathe. The once familiar streets of Pompeii were transformed into a treacherous, alien landscape. Faced with this terrifying reality, the people of Pompeii had to make an impossible choice: stay and hope for the best, or flee into the unknown chaos. Many tried to escape. They gathered their families, grabbed what few precious belongings they could carry, and ran towards the city gates, hoping to reach the coast and find a boat to safety. But the journey was perilous. The continuous downpour of pumice made walking difficult, and the darkness was disorienting. Others, perhaps believing the eruption would soon subside or fearing the chaos outside, chose to barricade themselves in their homes, hiding in cellars and under staircases, praying for deliverance. They huddled together, comforting one another as their world crumbled around them. As night fell, the situation grew even more dire. The eruption entered its most lethal phase. The massive column of ash and gas, which had towered over the mountain, became too heavy to support itself and collapsed. This triggered a series of pyroclastic surges, superheated avalanches of gas, ash, and rock, moving at hurricane speeds and reaching temperatures of over 300 degrees Celsius. The first surge roared down the western flank of Vesuvius, annihilating the nearby town of Herculaneum instantly. While Pompeii was initially spared by its location, its time was running out. The residents who had remained in the city, and even some who had fled to the outskirts, were now facing a new, inescapable horror. In the early hours of the next morning, the deadliest pyroclastic surges reached Pompeii. These were not something a human could survive. The intense heat would have killed anyone in its path in a fraction of a second, even before the ash and debris engulfed them. It was a wave of thermal death that swept through the streets, into every building, every hiding place. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor, strong or weak. In those final horrific moments, everyone faced the same fate. The city and its people were frozen in time, buried under more than 20 feet of volcanic material. The air they breathed, the very thing that gave them life, was replaced by a suffocating blanket of ash, preserving their last actions for millennia. For nearly 1,700 years, Pompeii lay silent and forgotten, a lost city buried under layers of earth and time. It wasn't until the 18th century that it was rediscovered and systematic excavations began. What archaeologists found was breathtaking. They unearthed not just buildings and artifacts, but a near-perfect snapshot of Roman life. They found loaves of bread still in the ovens, political graffiti on the walls, and tools left where they were dropped. But perhaps the most poignant and haunting discoveries were the voids left in the hardened ash by the decomposed bodies of the victims. By carefully pouring plaster into these cavities, archaeologists were able to create detailed casts of the people of Pompeii in their final moments, a mother clutching her child, a man shielding his face, lovers intertwined in a final embrace. These plaster casts are not just archaeological finds, they are powerful human testaments to the tragedy. They give a face to the victims, transforming them from anonymous figures of history into real people with stories, fears, and loves. We see a dog contorted as it struggled against its chain. We see a group of people huddled together in what they thought was a safe room. Each cast tells a story of desperation, of final choices, and of the universal human instinct to protect oneself and loved ones in the face of certain death. The eruption of Vesuvius didn't just destroy Pompeii, it entombed it. And in doing so, it created one of the world's most incredible archaeological sites. The very ash that took the lives of its citizens also preserved their world with astonishing detail. Today, walking through the excavated streets of Pompeii is like stepping back 2,000 years. We can learn so much about Roman society, their art, their engineering, their daily rituals, and their beliefs. All because this city was so suddenly and completely sealed off from the world. It is a tragic paradox, a city of the dead that tells us more about life than almost any other place from the ancient world. The story of Pompeii is a powerful lesson in the fragility of human existence and the immense power of nature. The people of Pompeii lived their lives just as we do, filled with hopes, dreams, and daily concerns, never imagining that their entire world could be erased in less than a day. Their fate is a stark reminder that we live on a dynamic and sometimes violent planet. The rediscovery of this buried city has given us an unparalleled window into the past, but it also stands as a solemn monument to the thousands of lives cut short. It compels us to remember them, not as statistics, but as people, frozen at the very end of their world. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back to Pompeii's last day. It's a somber but incredibly important story to tell. If you found this exploration of history fascinating, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the past. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. We'll see you next time.